how to make AI smarter for you, so that when you use AI, you will get the absolute best results that you ever dreamed of that you did not know you were missing. So let me show you something. How many know about this? This is custom instructions for ChatGPT. Custom instructions allow you to share anything you'd like ChatGPT to consider in its response. Your custom instructions will be added to all new conversations going forward. So no matter where you're using the AI, whether it's on the web, iOS, or Android, those custom instructions that you set up, they're going to go into effect. I learned about custom instructions, I think either last year or the year before last. There was this very famous individual, content creator, I forgot it, Mr. Fantastic or something like that. And anyway, that's how I learned about that. And so then I started using custom instructions, and I found them to do everything that they say it would do. This is kind of the screen look like for custom instructions, right? And so basically here is where you get to tell, his name is Mr. Wonderful. I believe it's Mr. Wonderful. Yes. So anyway, this is where you tell AI how you want it to think. How you want it to think. And then here is how you tell AI, this is where you tell AI, this is how I want you to present information to me. How you think and how you present information to me, right? And so you can do the same thing in Google Gemini. So this is some of my custom instructions, right? And so, you know, I've gone all into it. So this is like version 4 or 5 of my custom instruction set. I've been doing this for over a year now, and I have been refining it along the way. Roughly every 3 to 4 months, I make some subtle changes to it. I also use all the AIs together now, DeepSeek, ChatGPT, and Gemini, to work on the instructions so that I get the best from all the different thoughts that are out there. So DeepSeek adds in some Eastern aspects to it. And so you end up with operating principles. So I have it in different chunks because when you go and you add the instructions, there's only so much information it will take. And so I found some of the limits in terms of how much I can put into this box. I wish I could just put it all in one shot. I can kind of do that with ChatGPT, but with Gemini, I have to break it up more, but the result is the same, right? So what much of this does and what much of this delivers is better quality in the large language model. And so one of the things that I want to show you is what is the result of all of this, right? So the focus here is to elevate our output, right? You don't want standard responses that could be inconsistent in what it produces. You might get one response that's great, the next response is a total flop, and you're like, you know, I can't run with that. And so what most of this does is it sets up a couple of things in the AI so that when you're using the AI and you prompt it, it's going to be like, okay, there's intellectual depth and rigor. You're going to have a multi-layered approach in how it thinks. So instead of trying to do a one-shot quick response for you, then even if you're using a simple AI model, you could be using a very simple AI model and you're still going to get higher quality results with this approach that I'm showing. And if you're using a higher grade model, then this this tweaks it out to an even better level than what you're going to get by default from that higher grade model. And so it touches on a variety of elements in the way it's supposed to approach the information, systems thinking. My favorite is critical thinking. I was exposed to critical thinking in 2005, 2006, somewhere in that ballpark. I was reading books by Laura and Paul Elder about critical thinking. I did a refresher on that sometime early last year, and I said, okay, I really like critical thinking, and I want to re-emphasize it in the things that I do, and AI is a perfect ground to do that. And I've gotten great and tremendous results from applying critical thinking into the AI itself. Ethical and principle grounding, right? So you want the AI to be trustworthy. You want it to very much strive for fact-based approach and responses, so that you remove that room for error on its part. You know, from your standpoint, you're expecting everything that it gives you to be right. But it may be tempted to take shortcuts because of its programming. The programming that says, I got to get a response out in as quick amount of time as I can, right? I'm talking about more the lower grade models. And so when you can reinforce in your instructions ethics and let's be grounded in the proper principles, then it can take more time to seek out the right coherent structures in the data that it's putting together for you. Consistency and reliability. This is a huge one. Imagine how wonderful it is when all of the output you get from the AI is so consistent, has such a consistent structure to it, that you can now read the output more easily, and you know what to look for in the output in terms of the core information you're trying to get. Because sometimes it's best to have the AI give you more information and let you decide what parts of that response you want, than to have it just summarize to such a narrow level or extent that you miss more of the context that you would have gathered had you read the source material yourself. Enhance clarity and structure. So when you approach it this way, right, then you're going to get better clarity. I have a technique in my instructions that brings out that clarity, that brings out that rigorous structure in the output and in the thought process. And you want evidence-based reasoning. And this does diminish some of the fun in this chat-based AI for some people, but it pays huge dividends when you know that all the information has been sourced from the standpoint of, is there clear evidence that has existed historically to support the information that is being sourced and the response that is being given. So what this does is it influences you. Everything that we interact with is going to influence us. Pretty much everything. Your friends influence you, the TV programs that you watch influence you, and the books that you read influence you. And so when you are reading information online, whether it's a blog article or a social media post that is in written form, such as on X or Facebook, every piece of information that you are reading and encountering in your mind is having a feedback with you. It's having an impact on you. So when you use AI and you write these prompts out and it's giving you back information in a higher quality and a higher grade, then your constant exposure to that is actually going to be much higher than even if you were reading higher grade textbooks. Because then you are a participant. You have participated in that high quality information cycle. And so that starts to subtly change the way you write. That subtly changes the way that you might talk. That subtly changes the way that you might think through things. So I noticed that some of the documents that I write now, some of the documents that I write in the present time seems to have a AI flavor to it. Like I can write out a long form essay style thing because I've been writing on blogs for 13 years, right? So I'm used to writing. But my constant exposure with the AI after I started programming it like this, customizing it like this, what it did is it changed the way I wrote. And I now write in a much different style than I did prior to using LLMs. So the thing about the way I have set up the LLM is that with these detailed instructions, it orients and it makes the AI lean more in a deeply analytical way. So you don't just get the surface answer, superficial. Now, in ChatGPT, it actually gives me the answer in 3 tiers: a superficial, a mid grade, and a thorough, deep grade, right? In one response. So I'll ask a question and I'll get a multi-tiered response. And so what this does is it allows me to have the academic version of like an overall abstract and then what are the details behind it. And so you end up with something that is structurally sophisticated. And these tiered summaries, they allow you to more easily, accessibly approach complex topics. And now you can work with them yourself in a much more streamlined way cognitively. And like I say, you want it to be ethically aware. That is job number one, right? And so all of these instructions do is they put a context on all of your chats, right? Because you could take these instructions and you can load them up in each chat manually. You could definitely do that. But that is very exhausting. And that was the original reason I went this way, is I was trying to do project planning with AI. I was using AI for project planning and to write out different planning documents. And I found that unless I put in a significant amount of effort up front, it was not giving me the level of quality output that I knew was required. So when I was able to set up these custom instructions, then I ended up in a whole different universe with AI that has been much more productive and much more useful, including software development. I don't use AI for software development like that because I find that too it breaks the concentration cycle too much for me in the programming to go onto the web, type in something about code, and then go back to the code and then work on it and go back and forth. That doesn't work for me. And then some would say, yeah, you could use a co-pilot like thing. That doesn't work for me either. Now, I could learn to do something like that at some point, but I want to be absolutely sure that the result follows my design. So part of my objection to integrating AI in software development to that extent is I approach software development from a design standpoint, not merely as a task to be done, right? So from that designer standpoint, I have to maintain absolute control. So AI does deliver good results, I think, when it comes to like generating art, right? I have an arts background and it generates great art. And there is some influence of these custom instructions when I use AI generated art. and I noticed the AI generated art that I produce is a much better quality than in the past, but I'm not going to use that for programming. And so uh, what does happen with some of this is um, this is not a true plug and play solution. And what you have to think about is what are the weaknesses of this approach? Because the instructions that I set up are optimistic, right? They're very optimistic. Some of this will slow down the AI, right? And some of the AIs might skip parts of this, but I haven't found that to be the case. And you can also tell the AI to selectively speed up. I've never done that, but I know you can do that. You can tell it what to ignore. I just let it go full throttle on every question I have, but I generally don't ask trivial questions. Now, when I do ask what you might consider a trivial question, such as I might ask, did George Washington really chop down the cherry tree? It might give me a shorter answer than typical, but it's not going to just say, yes, many historical sources say that George Washington did chop down the cherry tree. It might actually go into a little bit more detail than that, right? But it won't give a whole long dissertation like it would if I asked it a much more in-depth question. So in many cases, the response that I get back from the AI is going to be proportional to the amount of prompting that I do, or the nature of my prompt. So this is very a very useful way to go about using an AI, so that it not only gives you a great result, but it helps you in your own development. So I found this process to be very helpful in my development, to approach information and to approach content and writing and documentation in a much more holistic and higher grade way. The way that I would have done it anyway, but I can do it more systematically now with the assistance of AI. So I want to show you something here. This is the latest version of my custom instructions. It has come a long way, but it's still essentially the same. It's just that this version is much more detailed. So I produced this version probably about 2 weeks ago. And what I wanted to do was really hone in on the custom instructions. And this version took advantage of the more expanded instruction possibilities in Google Gemini. So I do use Google Gemini more now than I use ChatGPT. With ChatGPT, I have a version of this that's shorter, a little bit more compact, and both sets of instructions I built in collaboration with DeepSeek, because DeepSeek has access to Eastern knowledge and a body of literature that ChatGPT and Gemini have not been trained on. So it gives me another aspect and a broader dimension than what I can get from just ChatGPT by itself or Google Gemini by itself. By using all three of them together, then I'm able to get something that is higher quality. So you go through multiple revisions, right? And so this is my framework for LLMs. And we start with core principles, right? And I talked about this earlier. And so we want harmony, interdependence, and we want contextual wisdom and balance. We want to ground the analysis in relational ethics and holistic systems thinking. We want to avoid simplistic dualisms and adversarial framing. Now, my prompts that I give it may be adversarial, but the the way that it is going to approach things is going to be much more balanced than what I may input. It could take what I input, which may be very, I might give it a prompt, a discussion point that may be very one-sided from my point of view, right? And then it's going to consistently translate that into something that's much more balanced and broader in its conceptual thinking and understanding, which helps me evolve over time to be much more broad in how I consider things. And so then we have, evidentiary integrity, which we talked about. We also have purposeful depth, where we want maximum conceptual impact. We want insights that are sustainable, humanistic, and ethically grounded. And then this was an important one for me also, is I wanted something that was very forward-looking, not a thought process and a response that is in the moment. I want quality outputs that have a very strong chance of being relevant 50 or 100 years from now. And so we want to connect contemporary issues to their historical precedents or milestones, because you know the phrase, those who forget history are often doomed to repeat it. Well, that also works when it comes to analyzing information, so that you are not re-entering into a cycle of thought that has been shown historically to be flawed. And so, analytical methodology, right? And so, I actually have a whole article about all of this, right, that I'm going to go into. And so I'm not going to read all of this, but I do want to touch on this, though, because as I get ready to wrap up, I want to touch on this. Communication standards, clarity, density, and structure. So this was one of the initial foundations for why I went down this course of action, right? I wanted the information that was produced from the large language model to have a particular tone to it, a particular structure. So what does CMS stand for, right? The Chicago Manual of Style. The Chicago Manual of Style. I have the book, right? And having read the book and having studied MFA, Masters of Fine Arts and Communication, like I say, I studied it, right? This AI, these AI tools, is an opportunity to systematically and automatically encode those standards into every response, so that every response that you get back from the AI has the right quality to it in terms of legibility and in terms of the structure of the information when you read it. You can frustrate yourself trying to put in a prompt in the AI saying, hey, I want you to make sure that all the grammar is correct. I want you to make sure that this is written to the highest standards. You could frustrate yourself to no end trying to get it to get the right tone, or you could just simply give it the right mental anchor, give it the right trigger that says, hey, use the Chicago Manual of Style and make sure the content is structured according to that standard. Or if we're doing something creative, right, we're doing a creative collaboration, then I want you to approach that from a master's in fine arts and writing approach, right? And so that helps a great deal, so that you don't have to revisit that now, where you get that type of quality consistently. And because you get that type of quality consistently, then your mind is no longer thinking about the operational aspects of transforming this information. You're now being inundated and immersed in that level of quality, which now continues to refine and influence you in your own personal development to to increase the likelihood that you will write that way, that you will approach things that way. And so then you have readability and density. And so this is something that some will find controversial, but I have set my my AI sessions and context to use a flesh reading standard of 20 to 30. And sometimes I will tell it to dial it down to even 0 to 10. So what is a flesh reading style? Well, flesh reading style talks about it is a standard of measuring how difficult something is to read. And so I have programmed my AI to make the reading level as difficult as possible or as complex as possible. You might ask yourself, why on earth would you do something like that? I have a very good reason for that. Number one, I want to say the most. I want to express the most amount of information in the most compact space possible. And the reason why that is useful is every paragraph that I put out from the AI machinery that is densely compact like that can, number one, be read by other artificial intelligences now and in the future, 20, 30, 40, 100 years from now. The encoding that I am putting in words is compact and can be unpacked right in it. So I can have an entire page of information in one paragraph. So it makes the information more efficient. Number two, it keeps my mind at that level so that when I think through concepts, I can think through them more efficiently by being able to compact more ideas in a smaller space so that in the space I have available at large, I can fit more ideas that are at different levels of complexity, right? And then number three, what it does is it allows the AI to give me more information. So when it gives me a longer response, then as I read through it, I'm able to get much more information from it than I would be motivated to if I had to read pages and pages and pages of text, because few people want to read pages and pages and pages of text when, by comparison, they can read fewer pages, right? And so if I can get the information that I seek into a more compact form that I can then decode and decode efficiently, then the flesh reading complexity aids me in achieving that. And so, the rest of this is very straightforward. Where tier one starts from the get-go with the Linda and Paul Elder critical thinking framework, and then we go through different tiers where we use different models of thought, systems thinking, neo-Aristotelism, analytical philosophy, and so on and so forth. And we also look at Korean and Japanese and Chinese thought processes that has been developed, not the ones that people know about, but the ones that has been rigorously refined in those environments that you could say, all right, yeah, just about everybody knows Confucianism, right? There are many people that know about Confucianism, but do you know about Neo-Confucianism, right? And then do you know that there are schools of philosophy that are even more advanced, that originate from the lineal progression from Confucius' original writings all the way up into present day, where you have more rigorous thought that has taken in centuries of considerations. And so you want the AI to have a window into that so that it can think in a higher grade way, right? And so that's what these instructions are. These are actually operational, right? So these are operational, and I am putting a link to all of this in the description and the comments so that if you want to make use of these, you're more than welcome to do so. So I hope you found this useful, and if you have any questions, let me know. But until the next discussion, I will see you later.